Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Benin faces uncertainty as military committee claims control. Oust President Patrice Talon. His whereabouts remain unknown. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurates the 125 BRO infrastructure projects in Ladakh, calls it a major achievement for BRO and the centre's unwavering commitment to strengthening border infrastructure. And India's air service regulator, the DGCA, issues show cause notice to IndiGo CEO and its accountable manager over flight chaos, says reply within 24 hours. Okay, news coming in from Africa as a group of soldiers on Benin's national television have claimed to have seized power in the Western African nation on Sunday. The President Talon's whereabouts are unknown, and the French embassy there has said on X that gunfire was reported at Camp Guizo near the president's official residence. It urged the French citizens to remain indoors for security. The announcement came as West African country was preparing for a presidential election in April that would mark the end of the tenure of the incumbent Patrice Talon in power since 2016. Benin's ruling coalition had nominated Finance Minister Romuald Wedagni to be its candidate, positioning a man seen as a key architect of its economic policies to pursue the administration's current reform agenda if elected. Benin, officially the Republic of Benin and formerly the Kingdom of Dahomey, is a West African nation bordered by Togo to west and Nigeria to the east, Burkina Faso to the northwest and Niger to the northeast. A drone attack by the Sudanese paramilitary forces hit a kindergarten in south-central Sudan, killing 50 people, including 33 children. UN had warned against atrocities in Kordofan. Paramedics on the scene in the town of Kalogi in South Kordofan state were targeted in a second unexpected attack. Sudan's Doctors Network said in a statement the authorities have condemned the attack, blaming the paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces or the RSF for the strikes, calling them a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law, including the protection of civilians, especially children, and vital civilian infrastructure. The death toll is expected to be higher, but communication blackouts in the area have made it difficult to report casualties. UNICEF has urged all parties to stop attacks immediately and allow safe and unhindered access for humanitarian assistance to reach those in desperate need. Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, while speaking at the Doha Forum in Qatar, said that she is quite concerned about U.S. President Donald Trump's second-term foreign policy. She argued that it marks a shift from what she called the core American values. Hillary Clinton also accused Trump of effectively supporting Russia by really criticizing President Vladimir Putin and pressurizing Kyiv towards a ceasefire deal.
For example, supporting Russia's invasion of Ukraine, both in an affirmative way by very rarely criticizing Putin for the brutal war that he has waged on the Ukrainian people, and then, attempting to try to coerce the Ukrainians into accepting a negotiated ceasefire and peace deal that would be by any objective measure, leaving them vulnerable to further Russian activity. Remember, Russia has been in Ukraine since 2014, so this didn't start in 2022.
3 days of talks between Ukrainian and US officials produced no apparent breakthrough on Saturday, with President Volodymyr Zelensky committing to further negotiations towards real peace. Zelensky said he joined his negotiators for a very substantive and constructive call with US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner as part of the third day of meetings in Florida. In a post on X, Zelensky said that Ukraine is determined to keep working in good faith with the American side to genuinely achieve peace. He said, "We agreed on the next steps and formats for talks with the United States." Witkoff and Kushner had held 2 days of talks with Ukraine's senior negotiator Rustem Umerov in Miami this week, which both sides called constructive discussions on advancing a credible pathway towards a durable and just peace in Ukraine. Witkoff is also expected to brief Umerov on his meeting in Moscow this week with Russian President Vladimir Putin. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has said that he would have made the same call in ordering the controversial follow-up strike on suspected drug boat in the Caribbean that killed the survivors. Hegseth, who made the comments while speaking to a defense industry forum, reiterated his claim that he was not present for the duration of the military operation. The strike on 2nd of September by U.S. military struck a vessel in the Caribbean, killing 11 suspected drug traffickers. The initial strike left survivors who were killed in a subsequent strike, prompting critics to ask whether the operation violated laws and whether U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was responsible for it.
The President has designated these as terror organizations, poisoning and threatening the American people, making them a target just like Al-Qaeda. I would have made the same call myself. In this particular case, it was well within the authorities of Admiral Bradley, who's an incredible American, an American hero. And the 22 or 23 strikes since have followed the similar protocol of ensuring we meet the criteria. The decision's not at my level anymore, and then we take the strike.
The Venezuelan army swore in 5,600 new soldiers on Saturday as the United States cranks up military pressure on the oil-producing country. President Nicolas Maduro has called for stepped-up military recruitment as the United States deployed a fleet of warships and the world's largest aircraft carrier to the Caribbean under the pretext of combating drug trafficking. American forces had earlier carried out deadly strikes on at least 22 vessels, killing at least 83. Washington has accused Maduro of leading the alleged Cartel of the Suns, which it has declared a terrorist organization last month. Maduro asserts the American deployment aims to overthrow him and seize the country's oil reserves. Colonel Gabriel have said that under no circumstances will we allow an invasion by an imperialist force. According to official figures, Venezuela has 200,000 troops and an additional 200,000 police officers. In Mexico, hundreds of thousands of people gathered in the capital, Mexico City, on Saturday to support President Claudia Sheinbaum, as the leftist leader sought to demonstrate her continued popularity following a month of political pushback and major protests. Authorities said around 600,000 people gathered in Mexico City's Zocalo, the main square, home to National Palace, where Sheinbaum lives and works. They chanted, "You are not alone," and Claudia, listen, the people are in the fight. The killing of Mayor Carlos Manzo in restive Michoacan estate had sparked 2 days of demonstrations in November, with protesters setting the buildings on fire. Weeks later, thousands marched through the streets of Mexico City to protest drug violence and the government's security policies. That was followed by abrupt departure of the country's Attorney General, Alejandro Gertz, in late November over reported disagreements with Sheinbaum's administration on crime policy. Sheinbaum took office in 2024 following the 6-year tenure of Andrés Manuel López Obrador, with more leaders representing the left-wing Morena party. Though Sheinbaum has earned high approval ratings in her first year, they dipped slightly in recent months from 74% in October to 71% in early December, according to the poll's MX survey summary. Shifting focus now to the Asia Pacific. Australia and Japan reaffirmed their commitment to maintain peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific after a Chinese military aircraft locked radar onto Japanese fighter jets on Saturday. Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles held talks with his Japanese counterpart on Sunday regarding intensifying Sino-Japanese tensions over Taiwan. Marles said that Australia does not want to see any change to the status quo across the Taiwan Strait.
Simply say that we do not want to see any change to the status quo across the Taiwan Straits. In general terms, Minister Koizumi and I spoke about the way in which Australia and Japan can work together to assert the rules-based order and provide for the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific. And we will continue to assert this. We will be very clear with China that in all that we are seeking to do, our only aim is to assert the rules-based order to promote the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific region.
And Japanese Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi said that Japan has strongly protested against China's action in order to prevent its recurrence.
Regarding the incident of radar illumination conducted by a Chinese military aircraft, that was a dangerous act that exceeded the scope necessary for the safe operation of the aircraft. Japan has strongly protested this action and called on China to strive to prevent its recurrence.
Hong Kong citizens began voting on Sunday in an election where the focus is on turnout, with residents grieving and traumatized after the city's worst fire in nearly 80 years and the authorities scrambling to avoid a broader public backlash. The city is holding elections for the Legislative Council, in which only candidates vetted as patriots by the China-backed Hong Kong government may run. The legislature elections in Hong Kong used to feature boisterous clashes between pro-Beijing and pro-democracy camps, with the latter often winning around 60% of the popular vote. But in 2020, Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law after the city was roiled by huge and sometimes violent pro-democracy protests. Beijing overhauled Hong Kong's electoral system in 2021 to ensure that only patriots could hold office and slashed the number of directly elected seats. Sri Lankan authorities have issued fresh landslide warnings on Sunday, with rains lashing areas already devastated by powerful cyclone as the death toll rose to 618. More than 2 million people, nearly 10% of the population, have been affected by last week's floods and landslides triggered by Cyclone Ditwa, the worst on the island this century. The Disaster Management Center said that monsoon storms were adding more rain and making hillsides unstable, including the central mountainous region and the northwestern Midlands. Helicopters and planes were being used on Sunday to supply communities cut off by landslides in the center of the country. The Sri Lankan Air Force said that it had received a plane load of relief supplies from Myanmar on Sunday, the latest batch of foreign aid. The government has confirmed 618 dead, 464 from lushly growing central region, while 209 people remain unaccounted for. More than 75,000 homes were damaged, including close to 5,000 that were completely damaged. And let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. In Belfast, the battle between technology and tradition is playing out at an artists' market. Organizers of the annual Christmas fair have banned AI-generated artwork, insisting on human creativity as artificial intelligence floods the art world. The lights on Altadena's Christmas tree lane flickered back to life, reviving a 105-year-old holiday tradition for the first time since the devastating Eden fire swept through the community in January. The mile-long stretch along the Santa Rosa Avenue, lined with 153 towering deodar cedars, has only gone dark during World War II and the 1970s energy shortage among them. Bethlehem lit its Christmas tree on Saturday as music and cheering crowds filled the streets, marking a return to full festivities. After years of subdued seasons due to the Israel-Palestine conflict, the city is once again welcoming public celebrations. Residents say that renewed festivities bring a much-needed sense of relief and hope to the historic West Bank city, Bethlehem, known as the birthplace of Jesus Christ. And still to come up on this edition of DD India Live, 25 dead in a fire at a club in Goa. FIR lodged against owner and the general manager of the club. And India achieves 50% of its installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel sources.
In today's episode, let's take a look at what does it truly mean to eat sustainably.
We add the already colonized mycelium into this ecosystem for basically helping the ecosystem to thrive more.
We're a public institution. Our goal is to grow vegetables.
Some urban areas already combine city and rural elements. Our urban agriculture programs are designed to tackle food security and meet the nutritional needs of the poor.
If you're prepared to love the land and the animals and don't see living such a life as making a sacrifice, then this is the right profession for you.
After gaining some knowledge about farming, I told myself, let's quit this and start our own business. And I decided to start goat farming.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Amritpal Singh. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated 125 infrastructure and connectivity projects constructed by the Border Roads Organization in Ladakh on Sunday. Constructed across 7 states and 2 union territories, the projects include the crucial Shyok Tunnel and the Darbuk Shyok Daulatbeg Oldie Road in Ladakh. Speaking at the event, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh spoke about the achievements of the Border Roads Organization, or the BRO, while highlighting the resolve of the government to strengthen the border infrastructure.
इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यानी 125 इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स का उद्घाटन एक साथ आज तक कभी नहीं हुआ है। तो यह अपने आप में बीआरओ के लिए और हम सबके लिए मैं मानता हूं एक मेजर अचीवमेंट है। और यह अचीवमेंट एक तरफ तो विकसित भारत के संकल्प का प्रमाण है, तो वहीं दूसरी तरफ यह प्रोजेक्ट्स बॉर्डर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को मजबूत करने की हमारी सरकार की अनवेवरिंग कमिटमेंट की भी एक सजीव उदाहरण है।
Goa Chief Minister Pramod Sawant on Saturday ordered a magisterial inquiry into the fire at a club which claimed 25 lives. The CM said an FIR has been lodged against the owner and the general manager of the club, and they would be arrested soon. The fire broke out at the club on Saturday night. According to police, the fire took place at the club at Baga Beach, one of the most popular beaches in the coastal state. The fire is suspected to have been caused by a cylinder blast around midnight. The police said that they believe a majority of the dead are staff employed at the club, including some tourists. Goa Chief Minister Pramod Sawant termed the incident a serious setback for the state and said strict action would follow.
अभी प्रिलिमिनरी पता चला है, उससे 4 लोग वो टूरिस्ट हैं, बाकी लोग उस क्लब के यानी कर्मचारी थे। मैं उनकी जो मौत हो गई है उनके प्रति मैं दुख व्यक्त करता हूँ, उनके फैमिली के प्रति संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूँ, उनके आत्मा को शांति मिले और सरकार की तरफ से उनको आर्थिक मदद दी जाएगी। 6 लोग जो अस्पताल में हैं उनके लिए अच्छी से अच्छी ट्रीटमेंट गोवा मेडिकल कॉलेज में दी जा रही है। मैंने खुद होके गोवा मेडिकल कॉलेज के डीन उनसे बात की है और उनको अच्छी तरह से ट्रीटमेंट मिलेगी। इस पूरे इंसिडेंट की मैजिस्ट्रियल इंक्वायरी हमने बिठाई है, क्योंकि जो प्रेजेंट क्लब था उसके लिए कौन कौन सी परमिशन थी और किसने परमिशन दी थी, उसकी पूरी इंक्वायरी की जाएगी।
And the Prime Minister has condoled the loss of lives in the fire mishap in Goa. Prime Minister Modi wished speedy recovery for those injured in the mishap. The Prime Minister posted on X, and I quote, "The fire mishap in Arpora, Goa is deeply saddening. My thoughts are with those who have lost their loved ones. May the injured recover at the earliest." Spoke to Goa CM Dr. Pramod Sawantji about the situation. The state government is providing all possible assistance to those affected, unquote. And an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees from the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund to the next of kin of each deceased was announced. The injured would be given 50,000 rupees each. Union Minister of State for Civil Aviation Muralidhar Mohol on Sunday said that the government is closely monitoring the disruptions caused by IndiGo over the past week. He said the flight duty time limitations order has been postponed till February 2026 and a show cause notice has also been issued to IndiGo CEO.
4 लोगों की एक जांच समिति हमने अपॉइंट करी है। उसके बाद 24/7 एक कंट्रोल रूम तैयार किया गया है। ये सब पहले जैसी सेवा शुरू हो, इसलिए FTDL का जो आदेश था उसको फरवरी 2026 तक हमने स्थगित कर दिया है। DGCA ने इंडिगो के CEO को कल ही शोकॉज नोटिस दिया है। 24 आवर्स में उसका आंसर देना इसलिए उनको बोला है और उनको नोटिस भी इशू किया है।
And the minister also assured that the government has taken immediate action against the airline for failing to comply with the FDTL.
जो लोगों को तकलीफ हुई है, परेशानी हुई है, जिन्होंने टिकट बुक किया था, पैसे दिए थे, हमने ये भी सूचना दी है इंडिगो के कि विदाउट एनी कैंसिलेशन फी चार्जेस को यहाँ पे न लेते हुए प्रवासी जो है हमारे उनके पैसे वापस दिए जाए। जो उनका लगेज है, बैगेज हो, 48 आवर्स के अंदर उनको मिले। ऐसे बहुत सारे निर्णय हमने इमीडिएटली ले लिए है। इस बारे में सरकार बिल्कुल गंभीरता से विचार कर रही है। जो जांच कमेटी अपॉइंट किए उसका रिपोर्ट आने के बाद बिल्कुल उस पर कार्रवाई भी होगी।
And the aviation regulator, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation or the DGCA issued a show cause notice to IndiGo CEO Peter Albers and the accountable manager Isidro Porqueras amid the ongoing flight cancellations and delays across the country. The regulator has given them 24 hours to respond, warning that failure to do so will invite strict punitive action. Meanwhile, IndiGo has reported strong progress in restoring its operations following recent disruptions. In a press statement, the airline said that cancellations have decreased, on-time performance has improved, and customers are being informed earlier about any schedule changes. Moving on to some other story, India has already achieved 50% of its installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel sources, 5 years ahead of the target set under the nationally determined contributions to the Paris Agreement. As of 31st October 2025, the installed capacity from non-fossil sources stands at about 250 gigawatt, with 31.2 gigawatt added in the current financial year up to October 2025. At several places, it is being reported that Ministry of New Delhi and Renewable Energy has issued advisory to lenders to pause fresh financing to renewable energy projects amid significant overcapacity concerns. It's hereby clarified that the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has not issued any advisory to financial institutions for stopping lending to either renewable energy power projects or to renewable energy equipment manufacturing facilities. Australia cruised to an 8-wicket win over England excuse me, in the day-night second Ashes Test in Brisbane for the ominous 2-0 lead in the series. The hosts chased down the paltry target of 65 in just 10 overs as England were comprehensively outplayed in every department. Their batting, apart from Joe Root and Zach Crawley in the first innings and captain Ben Stokes and Will Jacks in the second, was below par. They also bowled poorly in stark contrast to the Australian attack. Australia now have a 2-0 lead in the 5-test series and are overwhelming favourites to retain the Ashes with 3 more matches to follow. And that's it in this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from our entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India Live. Bye-bye.